Hello, mighty miners, and all other friends joining us today. This is Mr. Keith with Mr. Keith's Content. Today for Mr. Keith's Content, we're going to be looking at our social studies book, focusing on maps. Read a history map. Maps can show where places of long ago were. The first English settlers in North America built their colonies along the Atlantic Ocean. A colony is a place ruled by another country. Before we get into our questions, though, let's go ahead and take a look at our map and what it has to show us. So it has a title, The Colonies, 1773. Here we can see a map of the United States. If we take a closer look at that map, we can see that this part of the United States is actually colored in yellow. That shows us the rest of this map. So all of these colonies that are colored in multiple colors are actually this area right here of the United States. Then we have some of our Great Lakes, Lake Huron, Lake Erie, Lake Ontario, and then our colonies. Notice all of our colonies are written in capital or uppercase letters. So let's look at what they are. Here we have, in this one, it says part of Massachusetts. So this green area up here actually belonged with this green area right here, Massachusetts. The rest of our colonies are New Hampshire, New York, Connecticut, Rhode Island, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Maryland, Delaware, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia. We also have a couple of towns or cities here. Notice they are not written all in capital letters. They are Jamestown and Plymouth. And out here, we have something called a compass rose. So the compass rose shows us direction. So we have north, east, south, and west. So everything up here is the northern part. Down here would be the southern part or south. This side is east, and this side is west. An easy way to remember, because it can be easy to confuse what direction is where, is to remember never eat soggy waffles. So never and north both begin with the letter N. Eat and east both begin with the letter E. Soggy and south both begin with S. And waffles and west both begin with W. So if you remember never eat soggy waffles, you might have an easier time remembering where the directions are. And down here you can see the Atlantic Ocean. So everything in blue is the Atlantic Ocean. So let's look at our questions. Question number 1. What year does this map show? So look at the map, friends. Can you find what year it is? You're right. If you look at our title, The Colonies, 1773, our year is 1773. Number 2, it's kind of a trick question. How many English colonies were there? Now, if we look at our map and just start counting all the colored spaces, we might count a little wrong because remember, this part up here was a part of this. So these are only one colony. That's Massachusetts. So count with me and let's see how many there are. So we have this, Massachusetts is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So how many English colonies were there? There were 13 English colonies. Number 3 has 2 questions to it, so let's make sure we answer both of them. In which colony was Jamestown? So on the map, we can find Jamestown right here in this green colony. So what is the name of the green colony? You're right, it's Virginia. Now the second question is, in what colony is Plymouth? So if we look up here, we find Plymouth in this green colony. What is the name of that green colony? If you said Massachusetts, you were correct. Now think and do. Write these cities on a sheet of paper: Baltimore, Boston, Charlestown, Philadelphia, and Williamsburg. Find out in which colony each city began. Write the name of the colony next to the city. Let's do this together, friends. So our first city is Baltimore. Now, if I were to tell you that Baltimore sits right about here in this purple colony, what colony would we write next to Baltimore then? You're right. The purple colony is Maryland. So Baltimore is in Maryland. Our next city is Boston. Now Boston, if I were to tell you, sits right over here of this green one. Which one is that? We've already talked about this one too, so this one might be an easier one. It is Massachusetts. Our next city is Charlestown. Now Charlestown sits way down here on this area of this pinkish colored colony. What's the name of the pinkish colored colony? Very good. It's South Carolina. Our next city is Philadelphia. Philadelphia sits way up here in this orangey colored colony. So what is the name of the orange colored colony? If you said Pennsylvania, you were correct. And finally, we have Williamsburg. Williamsburg sits down here in this green colony. Also the same colony that Jamestown was in. Do you remember what colony that was? Good job. It was Virginia. Now let's take a look at another type of a map. This one is use a map grid. But let's look at this picture right here. So the picture we can see has the reflecting pool. So the reflecting pool is this water area right here. And we can see all the little people walking around it. Behind the reflecting pool, we've got this tall structure right here. The tall structure is called the Washington Monument. And if we take a closer look at it, behind the Washington Monument, we can see the side of a building. That building is called the Capitol Building. That's where Congress meets. So let's read this one. Maps help visitors to Washington, D.C. find routes to places they want to see. A route is a way to travel from one place to another. To help you find places, this map has a set of squares called a grid. Each grid square has a number and a letter. Now, before we get into these questions, let's take a look at our map over here. The title of our map is Washington, D.C. And we can see that it is set up in a grid, a bunch of squares with letters and numbers. So if we look inside the squares, we can see some of the roads are here: 23rd Street, Constitution Avenue, 17th Street. But we also have some memorials. So in this square, we have the Lincoln Memorial. This square has the Vietnam Veterans Memorial. This square, we have the words reflecting pool, which is what this is over here, friends. This water right here is all of this right here. Over here, we have the Washington Monument, which is this tall structure I pointed out already. This square shows us the Franklin Delano Roosevelt Memorial Park. And down here in this corner, we have the Thomas Jefferson Memorial. So now let's go back and take a look at our questions. Find the Lincoln Memorial. It is in square B1. So to find B1, we find the letter B, we find the number 1, and we bring them together. And there we have the Lincoln Memorial. In which square is the Washington Monument? So if we know Lincoln Memorial is in B1, we got to find the Washington Monument. And that's over here. So what square would that be in? So we take the square and we come out to B5. So this square is B5. Number 2, in which square is the Vietnam Veterans Memorial? So we need to find the Vietnam Veterans Memorial. That's right here. Now what square is that in? You're right, it's in square B2. What is in square E5? So if we find the letter E, find the number 5, and bring them together, what do we have in that square? It's the Thomas Jefferson Memorial. Now the next one, in which squares, so there's more than one square, is the reflecting pool? So we go back up and find the reflecting pool. It starts in this square, comes across this square, and ends up over in this square. So what squares are they? So if we come out, this square is B2, this square is B3, and this square is B4. So what squares are the reflecting pool in? They are in square B2, B3, and B4. Think and do. Follow a route. Place your finger in square E5. So remember where E5 is. We have E, we have 5, there. So place your finger there. Travel up to C5. So up means we're going to go up this way. So we come up, that's D5, there is C5. Go left to C2. So left means we need to go that way. So if this is C5, that's C4, C3, C2. What park is in the center of the square? You're right, it's the Franklin Delano Roosevelt Memorial Park. Good job, friends. Well, I hope you guys learned a little about reading a map. Until next time, friends.